Hello, youth. Sorry this video is coming to you a day later than normal. I hope you guys are doing well, getting excited to be back to school in person soon, for those of you who have not done so yet. And if you're not getting excited, it's not long till summer. Happy April. This weekend is Easter, and we get to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. If you do not have a home church or a place where you will be going to celebrate that this week, this is just an open invitation for every Sunday, but especially this week as we remember the resurrection of Jesus, for you to join us Sunday morning. We meet as youth at 8:45 and then for church at 10:30, but if you would like to attend the 8:45 service, you may. But there is no youth group this Sunday evening, so enjoy some time with your families as you take the Easter holiday off from youth group. We're going to get back into the book of Hebrews today. It's been a couple weeks since we talked about Hebrews, and we're just going to keep plodding through this hall of faith. We are nearing the end of it, but it's going to be kind of weird towards the end. So the last person we looked at was Jephthah, and the next person in the list in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 32 is David. David is remembered primarily as one of Israel's greatest, if not the greatest king that Israel had in the Old Testament. But there's a couple instances that I want to pull out, because remember, Hebrews is talking about these people of faith in especially the Old Testament, that stand as pillars and examples of faith moving forward. And so I want to look at a couple instances in David's life that maybe sometimes we don't always talk about. You know, when we think of David, we think of him and Goliath and him conquering Goliath, or we think of the scenes with Solomon, or sometimes we might even think of his friendship with Jonathan. And you know, we often think of some of the negative things that David did, as we should. But today I want to highlight two instances in David's life where he displays a specific kind of faith. The first is if you want to go back and read the story, it's in 1 Samuel chapter 24. And this is where you know, King Saul is the king prior to David, and he goes into a cave, and David and his men are in the cave, and some of the men, like, there's this opportunity where David could have killed Saul, and he doesn't. And, you know, some of David's men are like, you know, what's your deal? What are you doing? And, you know, David, even though Saul is pursuing David and is seeking to take David's life, David chooses to spare Saul and not kill him. And his reasoning is because he is Israel's king. Saul is Israel's king. And so David has respect for the position and for the God of Israel. And it's this picture of David having faith in his time being something that is still to come. He's not trying to rush it, and he's not trying to gain that status and gain that position as quick as possible. He has faith in a God who will do the thing that needs to be done when it needs to be done. And that doesn't mean David's passive and never takes any action, but it does mean that David knows that taking another person's life, especially in this instance where like a war or a battle is not being fought, David knows that that's not right. And so he chooses to do what is right in faith and in honor to his own God, and even to Saul the king, even though he knows he's been anointed. 8 chapters earlier, he was anointed as king. So he knows he's going to be king, but he doesn't take it into his own hands to take that. And he allows Saul to be the king. David had faith in a God who would work this out. The next one that's kind of before David is king and towards the beginning of his kingship. The second story I want to draw attention to is on the back end of David's kingship. And that is with David's interaction with his son Absalom. Toward the end of David's reign, you know, his son Absalom kind of stages a coup and is staged to kind of overthrow David. And there's this moment where David and his men choose to flee and get out of town, and they go hide out in the wilderness because Absalom is like, he's ready to take them out. And David is out hiding away from where he is or was king of, still is. And word comes to him that his son Absalom has died. And again, this is the guy who chased him out of town, but it is still his son. And when David hears about it, he's not excited and he's not like overjoyed because he gets to go back home. It says he weeps for his son. And so we see that David is this picture of a king that Israel was looking for, and still in many ways is looking for. And we look back and we see this picture of a king fulfilled in the person of Jesus. But in David, we get this example of faith that is patient. It waits, but it also does not rejoice at the misfortune of those who maybe are against us. And it takes a real active faith in a real active God to have those two things. Because if your faith is not in a God who is active, you probably don't believe that God is going to have timing and work and do things. And so then you might take it into your own hands. And if your faith is not in a God who is active and doing things, you're going to maybe look at situations and not be able to have that grief when it is time to have grief. You're going to look at it as just another opportunity to get back to something that you lost. And so David, even though he had his shortcomings in the Old Testament, he's remembered as this example of faith for the type of king that he was, especially at the beginning and end of his rule. And so this week, I would encourage you guys to, if with Resurrection Sunday, this Sunday, be thinking about like the work of Jesus and how Jesus rising from the dead, like what that does for your faith and how it allows you to take to the bank the fact that your sins are forgiven. Like, and in that, checking that my faith is in a God who has accomplished something and is still accomplishing something daily. And I would encourage you to think about and pray about how that idea can spur you to live out that faith on a daily basis. So this is still Hebrews 11:32. We're almost through that verse. It's a long one and it's got a lot of folks in there, so we'll keep plodding away. No youth group this Sunday, but we will see you guys hopefully Sunday morning. And if not, we will see you next week. Love you guys. Have a good one.